But from Sanskar, we're going to move into Sophia, and I think it's really interesting and amazing how barefoot has been like a really powerful example of what it really means to design from our own ground, right? From color to the geometry, to a very community-centered production. Barefoot has always, I think, shown that design can grow from culture, from craft, and of course, a very deep sense of place as well. So I think drawing from that legacy of barefoot, we are so grateful to have Sophia here today to talk about new ways of design.
Hello. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually talk about new ways of design. I feel like I'm terrible with mics, so if you can't hear me, I apologize. But I'm kind of just going to touch on very, very old traditions. And it's a method of design Barefoot's been using for the past 60 years. And we're still here, so maybe they're good, maybe something's working. And I realize a lot of people, when they touch textile or when they interact with textile, they don't actually know where it's come from or how it came to be. And I think that's just a little bit of the process that I want to share with you guys today. Oh, there you go. Okay. So we're just going to start with raw hanks of yarn, so unbleached yarn that we get from India. And they're just about to go for a dye bath. So you see these red dye sticks. And then from there, here they are. They're going for a little bath in stainless steel dye baths. It's hanks of yarn that get rotated by hand. And we get their color, and then they go out into the sun and dry. And after they've dried, we collect them and we wind them by hand into perns. Perns that then get put on a loom. And this act of getting yarn onto a loom is the most meticulous thing I have ever witnessed in my entire life. When you look at each single one of these individual threads, gets so carefully and with so much love, just gets put onto a loom. And you can just see them. I can't imagine doing it. It's such a wonderful thing to witness. We have all these incredible people and incredible teams that help them do this every single day. They do it like it's second nature. Here we see some fabric coming through. So Barefoot uses a 2-petal loom. It's the most simplest loom you can get, and we simply do plain weave. And what plain weave is you get a warp and you get a weft. So what we focus on how two colors kind of react with one another. And then we design, and that's some cloth that's coming up there. Here are some fabrics. These are some designs you might see in our stores. And over there we've got a redda. So Barefoot was started by my grandmother Barbara. She didn't want anything to do with weaving. She loved traveling, she loved having parties, she loved drawing. She loved traveling. And a good friend of hers, a good family friend, mother, good counsel, convinced her that she was working with weavers, and she said, Barbara, they're weaving horrible cloth. They're weaving like ugly cloth. Can we bring some color into there? That was something that my grandmother didn't find people do, and she did it happily, and she fell in love. And she didn't abandon her artist side, artistry at all. So here we see a redda. I'll touch on what a redda is in Barefoot terms soon. And it's called Trees at Dawn. And just looking at it, you see light coming in from the right. You see the shadow of the trees to the left. You see where it darkens. And you see dawn breaking. And that's simply done with a warp and a weft. And this design would just be something she would have seen. I mean, I think you all just take a moment and meditate and just look at a sunrise or a sunset. You would just see how colors interact with one another. This is a bit about design. So we don't actually start with yarn, we start with design. And this is a design by my grandmother. She got gifted a Siamese cat, Siam Kusa, by her sister. And she just looked at this cat and she took the proportions of the cat and just started at the lower bottom right. You just see this little design coming through. And with that, she made this redder, this other bit of colorful cloth. And the way, so then I'm not going to read off the slide, but this is an original note about what a redder meant to her. And it's looking into one, you can see landscapes, you can see seascapes, you can see atmospheric jungles, birds, coral, reef fish, and endless other subjects. There is no pictorial tracery or form, but a clearly recognizable abstract presentation of the essence of a subject. And she never defined, what we talk about redder, so redder, for those who don't know, is, it means cloth in Nepalese. It just simply means cloth, but what it meant to her, it was, you could hang it from a pole, it could be stretched onto a frame. She often encouraged people to take this large redder and wrap it around themselves. It could become a dress. You could walk on it. She would be very happy, I think, if she saw walking someone's home and it was used as a rug. She'd be very happy to see it on someone's bed. I think she would be even happy to see if someone was using it to even dust off something else. It was meant to be used. It shouldn't be precious. It was just something. It was precious in the sense we would love and respect cloth, but there was no restriction in what you could do with it. And this, when I think about design, or when I think about new ways of design, my mind keeps going to this poster. We have this in our shops. It's something we look at every single day. And I think, when I think about ways in which we're new, I think about sticking to an old way of making. But what is new is external things around us. We could go to a landscape and then design something, and 10 years later that landscape will shift. And we just try to be sustainable and just stay new in different ways. We have, and one thing that I love that she says is we teach skills and assert no time pressure on our hand weavers or needle women. They are not cheap substitutes for machinery. And I think that's something we need to bring back new again. Humans aren't cheap substitutes for machinery. I think humans are magical, and I think working with humans, working with people every day is such an incredible privilege. I think that I think people at Bassett have, and I hope others have it too. I think just keeping some things old makes it new, in a sense. Yeah, I think that's it.
That was beautiful, Sophia. Thank you so much. I think working with people is a privilege. I think that's one of the key takeaways from your talk. We have a lot more to discuss. But before that, we're going to move into Dilina. I really like the diversity of our speakers today. Dilina is also a lecturer from University of Muratoa, the Department of Integrated Design, and I think his work and his research has really been shaping how we think and talk about design today here in Sri Lanka. And from his teaching, from his research, and also to the informal chats and the gatherings that he has with research enthusiasts, has really let us explore more about how we look at design and how we teach design as well. So Dilina, I would really love to hear your thoughts on design education and research, and also in terms of how we can move beyond the Western textbook as well.